There is a place where the world feels unfinished, raw, immense, and endlessly alive. Before the first light of dawn, Alaska lies in a quiet stillness, as if holding its breath. Then, slowly, the horizon begins to glow. A soft band of gold stretches across the sky, touching the jagged edges of distant mountains. Snow-covered peaks awaken, reflecting light like mirrors of ice, while vast glaciers shimmer in silence below. Rivers, frozen or flowing, carve their paths through valleys that seem too large for human understanding. Here, the land speaks in elements. Wind rushes through alpine passes, carrying with it the scent of cold stone and ancient ice. The ocean crashes against rugged cliffs, sending mist into the air like drifting spirits. In the far distance, the low rumble of a glacier breaking echoes like thunder, a reminder that even in stillness, this land is never truly quiet. This is Alaska, the last frontier, a place where time stretches differently. In winter, darkness blankets the land, and the sky dances with ribbons of green and violet light. In summer, the sun lingers endlessly, refusing to leave, illuminating a wilderness that bursts into life. But Alaska is not defined only by its beauty. It is defined by its scale, its power, and its indifference. It does not bend to human will. It exists on its own terms, vast, untamed, and enduring. To step into Alaska is to step beyond the familiar. It is to witness a world where nature still writes the rules, and where every mountain, every river, and every frozen horizon tells a story older than civilization itself. Alaska is a land shaped by forces so immense they are difficult to comprehend. It is not simply a region, it is a geological story still being written. At its core, Alaska exists at the meeting point of powerful tectonic plates. The Pacific Plate pushes relentlessly against the North American Plate, and from this collision, mountains rise. This slow but unstoppable movement has given birth to some of the most dramatic landscapes on Earth, including the Alaska Range, where Denali stands as the tallest peak in North America. But these mountains are not static. They continue to grow, shifting millimeter by millimeter, shaped by earthquakes that ripple through the land. Alaska is one of the most seismically active regions in the world, a reminder that the ground beneath it is never truly still. To the south and west, the Aleutian Arc curves into the ocean, a chain of volcanic islands formed by subduction, where one tectonic plate slides beneath another. Here, fire meets water. Volcanoes rise from the sea, some active, some dormant, all part of the vast Pacific Ring of Fire. Yet, it is not only fire that has shaped Alaska, it is ice. During the last ice age, massive glaciers covered much of the region, carving deep valleys and fjords as they moved. These glaciers acted like slow-moving rivers of stone, grinding down mountains and reshaping the land. When the ice eventually retreated, it left behind a rugged terrain of sharp peaks, U-shaped valleys, and scattered lakes. Even today, glaciers continue their work. They advance and retreat with the changing climate, sculpting the land in a process that spans centuries. Rivers add another layer to this story. The Yukon River, one of the longest in North America, winds its way across Alaska, cutting through forests and tundra alike. It has served as a natural highway for both wildlife and humans for thousands of years. The coastline, too, tells a tale of transformation. Stretching for tens of thousands of kilometers, it is marked by fjords, cliffs, and islands, evidence of glacial carving and tectonic upheaval. What emerges is a land defined by motion. Mountains rise, glaciers flow, rivers carve, and the earth itself shifts beneath it all. Alaska is not a finished landscape. It is a living one, constantly evolving, shaped by the same forces that have governed our planet for millions of years. In Alaska, climate is not a single identity. It is a spectrum of extremes. From the rain-soaked forests of the southeast to the frozen Arctic tundra in the north, The state encompasses a remarkable range of climate zones. Each region carries its own rhythms, its own challenges, and its own beauty. Along the southern coast, the influence of the Pacific Ocean creates a maritime climate. Winters here are relatively mild compared to the rest of Alaska, while summers are cool and damp. Rain falls frequently, feeding dense forests that thrive in the moist air. Mist drifts between towering trees, and clouds cling to mountain slopes, creating an atmosphere that feels almost otherworldly. Move inland, and the climate changes dramatically. The interior of Alaska experiences a continental climate, defined by extremes. Summers can be surprisingly warm, with temperatures rising above 25 degrees Celsius. But winter transforms the region entirely. Temperatures plunge far below freezing, often reaching minus 40 degrees Celsius or lower. The air becomes sharp and dry, and the landscape freezes into stillness. Further north lies the Arctic, a world of ice, wind, and profound isolation. Here, winter brings a phenomenon known as the polar night. For weeks, sometimes months, the sun does not rise above the horizon. Darkness dominates, broken only by the glow of the moon and the shimmering dance of the aurora borealis. Then, in a dramatic reversal, summer arrives with the midnight sun. For long stretches, the sun remains above the horizon, circling the sky without setting. This continuous daylight fuels an explosion of life. Plants grow rapidly, animals migrate and reproduce, and the land awakens in a brief but intense burst of activity. These seasonal contrasts shape everything. Wildlife must adapt to survive, hibernating, migrating, or developing thick insulating layers. Human life, too, adjusts to the rhythms of light and darkness, of abundance and scarcity. In Alaska, time is measured not just in days or months, but in light and shadow. It is a place where the cycle of seasons feels amplified, where nature reveals its most extreme expressions, and where survival depends on understanding the delicate balance between them. In Alaska, ice is not merely frozen water. It is a force of creation. Glaciers stretch across the landscape like ancient, slow-moving rivers, shaping the land with quiet persistence. Some, like the immense coastal ice fields, span thousands of square kilometers, their surfaces fractured into jagged ridges and deep blue crevasses. Others descend from high mountain valleys, flowing downward over centuries, grinding rock into fine sediment as they go. They move so slowly that the human eye cannot detect their motion, yet their power is undeniable. Entire valleys have been carved by their passage, leaving behind the signature U-shaped formations that define much of Alaska's terrain. Fjords, deep, narrow inlets carved by glaciers and later filled with seawater, cut into the coastline, creating dramatic cliffs that plunge into icy waters below. But glaciers are not silent. When they reach the ocean, they begin to fracture. Great slabs of ice break away in a process known as calving, crashing into the sea with a thunderous roar. The sound echoes across the water, a reminder that even the most ancient elements of this land are constantly changing. Rising above these glaciers are Alaska's mountains, vast, formidable, and seemingly endless. The Alaska Range dominates the interior, its peaks jagged and imposing. Denali, the tallest among them, towers over the landscape at more than 6,000 meters. It is not just its height that inspires awe, but its sheer vertical rise from the surrounding terrain, making it one of the most dramatic mountains on Earth. Further north, the Brooks Range stretches like a spine across the Arctic, while the coastal mountains form a rugged barrier between land and sea. Together, these ranges create a complex network of ecosystems, each shaped by altitude, temperature, and exposure. Within this rugged terrain lies a delicate balance of life. Alpine zones host hardy vegetation that clings to rocky slopes, while valleys support forests, wetlands, and rivers. Meltwater from glaciers feeds vast river systems, carrying nutrients that sustain life far beyond the mountains themselves. These interconnected systems form one of the most intact wilderness ecosystems on the planet. Here, natural processes continue largely undisturbed, creating a rare opportunity to witness the Earth as it once was, wild, dynamic, and profoundly interconnected. Despite its harsh conditions, Alaska is a land rich in life, where resilience defines every living thing. In the southeastern regions, temperate rainforests flourish under constant moisture. Towering Sitka spruce and western hemlock form dense canopies, their branches draped with moss and lichen. The forest floor is soft with layers of organic material, supporting a vibrant understory of ferns, shrubs, and fungi. As one moves north and inland, the landscape begins to change. The forests thin, giving way to boreal woodland, vast stretches of spruce and birch adapted to colder, drier climates. Beyond this lies the tundra, a seemingly barren expanse where only the hardiest plants survive. Mosses, lichens, and low-growing shrubs dominate, clinging to the thin layer of soil above permafrost. Yet even here, life thrives in unexpected ways. During the brief summer, the tundra bursts into color. Wildflowers bloom rapidly, taking advantage of the endless daylight. It is a fleeting transformation, but one that fills the landscape with life and energy. The animal world of Alaska is equally remarkable. Large mammals roam freely across its vast wilderness. Brown bears and grizzly bears dominate riverbanks during salmon runs, their immense size a testament to the abundance of food. Moose move through forests and wetlands, while caribou migrate in vast herds, traveling hundreds of kilometers each year in search of grazing grounds. Predators are never far behind. Wolves move in coordinated packs, hunting with precision and intelligence. Lynx, elusive and silent, navigate the forests in pursuit of snowshoe hares. Each species plays a vital role in maintaining the balance of the ecosystem. The rivers and oceans add another dimension to this intricate web of life. Every year, millions of salmon return from the ocean to the freshwater streams where they were born. This migration is one of the most important ecological events in Alaska. As salmon spawn and die, they provide nutrients that feed not only predators, but also the surrounding environment, enriching forests and sustaining countless species. Above, the skies fill with birds. Migratory species travel thousands of kilometers to reach Alaska's summer breeding grounds, drawn by the abundance of food and long daylight hours. Eagles soar overhead, while smaller birds fill the air with sound and motion. In Alaska, life is defined by adaptation. It is a place where survival is never guaranteed, yet where ecosystems have evolved in remarkable harmony, each species connected, each playing a role in a larger, enduring story. Long before Alaska became known to the outside world, it was home to diverse indigenous cultures whose lives were deeply intertwined with the land. For thousands of years, peoples such as the Inuit, Yupik, Aleut, and Tlingit have inhabited this vast region, developing ways of life uniquely adapted to its challenges. Their knowledge of the environment is not written in books, but passed down through generations, through stories, songs, and lived experience. To them, the land is not something to be owned, it is something to be understood, respected, and lived with. Hunting, fishing, and gathering are not merely means of survival, they are practices rooted in tradition and spiritual belief. Animals are seen not just as resources, but as beings with their own spirits. Respect for these spirits is essential, and rituals often accompany the taking of life, ensuring balance between humans and the natural world. Storytelling plays a central role in preserving this relationship. Through oral traditions, knowledge of the land, the seasons, and the behavior of animals is passed down. These stories often carry deeper meanings, teaching lessons about respect, responsibility, and the interconnectedness of all things. Spiritual beliefs vary among different groups, but many share a common theme, the idea that everything in nature is connected. Mountains, rivers, animals, and even the wind are part of a larger living system. This worldview fosters a deep sense of stewardship. Rather than exploiting the land, indigenous communities have traditionally lived in ways that sustain it. Their practices reflect an understanding that survival depends on balance, taking only what is needed and ensuring that resources remain for future generations. Even in the modern era, these traditions endure. While many indigenous communities have adapted to contemporary life, they continue to maintain strong cultural identities. Languages, ceremonies, and traditional knowledge remain vital, offering insights into sustainable living and a perspective that is increasingly relevant in a changing world. In Alaska, the voices of its first inhabitants still echo across the land, reminding us that true understanding of this place comes not from conquering it, but from learning to live in harmony with it. For much of human history, Alaska existed at the edge of the known world, a distant, mysterious land separated from continents not only by oceans, but by imagination. Long before European explorers arrived, indigenous peoples had already mapped its rivers, coastlines, and seasons through generations of lived experience. But in the 18th century, a new chapter began as imperial ambitions reached toward the North Pacific. In 1741, Danish explorer Vitus Bering, sailing under the Russian flag, made one of the first recorded European expeditions to Alaska's coast. His journey confirmed what had long been suspected, that Asia and North America were separate continents. More importantly, it revealed a land rich in natural resources, particularly fur-bearing animals. The discovery ignited Russian interest. Soon, traders and settlers followed, establishing a network of outposts along Alaska's southern coast. Among them was Alexander Baranov, who became a central figure in the development of Russian America. Under his leadership, settlements expanded and trade flourished, especially in sea otter pelts, which were highly valued in global markets. Yet this expansion came at a cost. The fur trade led to overexploitation of wildlife and brought hardship to indigenous communities who were often drawn, willingly or by force, into the colonial economy. Cultural exchanges occurred, but so did conflict and displacement. Despite its early promise, Alaska proved difficult for Russia to maintain. The vast distances, harsh climate, and limited infrastructure made governance costly and challenging. By the mid-19th century, the Russian Empire began to view the territory as a liability. In 1867, a decision was made that would reshape Alaska's future. Russia sold the territory to the United States for $7.2 million, a transaction negotiated by William H. Seward. At the time, many Americans criticized the purchase, calling it Seward's folly, believing it to be a waste of money on an icy wilderness. History would prove otherwise. In the decades that followed, Alaska revealed its hidden wealth. The discovery of gold in the late 19th century triggered a wave of migration, drawing thousands of prospectors northward in search of fortune. Towns sprang up, trails were carved into the wilderness, and Alaska began to transform. What was once dismissed as a frozen frontier had become a land of opportunity, its value far greater than anyone had imagined. In the modern era, Alaska stands at a crossroads between preservation and progress, a place where ancient landscapes meet contemporary ambition. One of its most significant roles today is as a center for scientific research. Because of its unique geography and climate, Alaska serves as a natural laboratory for studying Earth's systems. Scientists from around the world come here to observe glaciers, monitor wildlife populations, and study the effects of climate change. Its remote and relatively untouched environments provide insights that cannot be found elsewhere. At the same time, Alaska is rich in natural resources, particularly oil. The discovery of vast petroleum reserves in the 20th century transformed the state's economy. The construction of the Trans-Alaska Pipeline, stretching over 1,200 kilometers, allowed oil to flow from the North Slope to ports in the south. This infrastructure became a symbol of modern engineering, as well as a source of economic growth and controversy. Oil revenues have supported communities, funded public services, and shaped Alaska's development. Yet they have also raised important questions about environmental impact and sustainability. Alongside industry, tourism has emerged as a vital part of Alaska's identity. Each year, travelers from across the globe journey north to witness its landscapes firsthand. They come to see glaciers calving into the sea, to watch bears fish for salmon, and to stand beneath skies illuminated by the northern lights. National parks, such as Denali and Glacier Bay, offer protected spaces where visitors can experience the raw beauty of the wilderness. Cruise ships navigate the intricate coastline, while adventurers explore mountains, forests, and rivers. Despite these modern influences, Alaska retains a sense of isolation and authenticity. It is a place where small communities coexist with vast stretches of uninhabited land, where traditional ways of life persist alongside technological advancement. In this balance between old and new, Alaska continues to define itself, not just as a resource-rich region, but as a living, evolving frontier. Alaska, once seen as timeless and unchanging, now stands on the front lines of a rapidly shifting planet. The signs of change are everywhere. Glaciers that have existed for thousands of years are retreating at unprecedented rates. Ice that once filled valleys and fjords is shrinking, exposing bare rock and altering ecosystems that depend on cold, stable conditions. What was once solid and permanent is now in motion. Beneath the surface, another transformation is unfolding. Permafrost, ground that has remained frozen for centuries, is beginning to thaw. As it softens, the land becomes unstable, affecting roads, buildings, and entire communities. In some regions, homes tilt and sink as the very foundation beneath them changes. Coastal areas face their own challenges. Rising sea levels and increased storm activity are accelerating erosion, threatening villages that have stood for generations. For many Indigenous communities, relocation is becoming an unavoidable reality, a profound loss not only of land, but of cultural connection. Wildlife, too, is adapting to a changing world. Shifts in temperature and habitat are altering migration patterns, affecting species that depend on specific environmental conditions. The delicate balance of Alaska's ecosystems is being tested, with consequences that ripple across the food chain. Yet Alaska is also a place of observation and resilience. Scientists study these changes closely, using the region as a window into the future of the planet. Local communities, drawing on both traditional knowledge and modern science, are finding ways to adapt. The story of Alaska is no longer just one of wilderness, it is one of transformation. A land once defined by permanence is now a living testament to change, reminding us that even the most remote and powerful landscapes are not immune to the forces shaping our world. Alaska is not easily understood, only felt. It is a land where silence carries meaning, where mountains rise like monuments to deep time, and where glaciers whisper stories carved over millennia. Here, the rhythms of nature remain vast and unbroken, reminding us of a world that existed long before us, and may continue long after. In its endless horizons, there is freedom. In its harshness, there is truth. And in its beauty, there is something profoundly humbling. Alaska does not ask to be conquered or explained. It asks only to be witnessed. To stand within it is to feel small, yet deeply connected, to the earth, to time, and to something greater than ourselves. It is a place that challenges human certainty, where control fades and respect takes its place. And perhaps that is its greatest lesson. In a world increasingly shaped by human hands, Alaska remains a reminder of what still lies beyond our reach. A final frontier not just of land, but of perspective. A land beyond time. Still wild, still untamed, still waiting.